From the creators who brought you RuPaul's Drag Race and $1 Million Listing, this is World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Well, hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Wow Report. I'm co-founder of World of Wonder, Fenton Bailey, joined this week by our chief creative inspiration, Tom Campbell.
Hello, Fenton.
Hello. And Blake, of course. Blake Jacobs, our millennial producer.
Hello.
It's such a quiet, it feels so quiet without James here.
I disagree. I totally disagree. I think it's not quiet. I think James doesn't add anything to the show. Thank you.
Oh, James, we miss you already. James taking a much-deserved summer's week's vacation. So
Yes.
Every week we count down the top 10 things that make us go wow. And so, without further ado, let's start at number 10.
Number 10.
I discovered a documentary that is new. It's in theaters, but it's also playing on Hulu, and it's called Summer of Soul. Have you heard about this?
I've heard about it. I don't know anything about it.
I think it played at Sundance this year. Did you go to Sundance this year, or was it all virtual?
Oh, it was this year was completely virtual. Yeah,
But it was. I think it played at Woodstock. It is a film. Questlove is attached to it. He's actually the director, the band of the Roots and Tonight Show. But it is so much more. In 1969, the same summer as Woodstock, the same time that the man walked on the moon, there was a Harlem Cultural Festival at the north end of Central Park over I think 6 or 7 Sundays in a row.
right.
And it was shot. It was sponsored by Maxwell House. It was the 60s, and Martin Luther King had been assassinated, Malcolm X. The film helps put it in the context. There's all there, and they were so worried. Mayor Lindsay, right, who was so afraid of. They were just afraid of more heat and more riots and more upset. So they sponsored this music festival. Maxwell House sponsored it. And they shot the whole thing. This gentleman by the name of Hal Tilkin, who had passed away, and it sat in a basement for 50 years because no one would buy it. Oh. And so, as so many things, as we're becoming more aware and more sensitized, well, this was a cultural event. It's like all these moments of Black history that were just forgotten. And Questlove says in interviews, I didn't know this happened. Well, let me tell you, and I get the chills talking about it because it is thrilling to see the footage and hear the artistry. Stevie Wonder, 19 years old, playing drums, a drum solo. And the brilliance of the documentary is they will show the performance, this incredible footage, and then they'll cut in what had happened historically. And so this is just mad. And I've never seen Stevie Wonder take the drums, even though he can play every instrument known to man. The Fifth Dimension, hot, brand new, 1969 was their year of winning Grammys. It's Marilyn. They show Marilyn McCoo and Billy Davis Jr., who are still with us, so I'm slightly obsessed about these days, watching themselves in footage that they've never seen before of them performing, the Aquarius, Let the Sun Shine, and they're having moments because at the time they were so proud as Black Americans to be representing their people, but they were often criticized by Black people for being too white. And Marilyn McCoo's tearing up and I can't believe I get to see this. Plus, just watching these incredibly young, talented people outside in the sun, just dancing and singing full voice, no auto-tune, no backtrack, just pure talent. Also, and Gladys Knight and the Pips perform Heard It Through the Grapevine. Nina Simone performs 2 songs, including Young, Black, and Gifted. B.B. King, the Edwin Hawkins singers who sing that "Oh Happy Day," the gospel song. There was a Puerto Rican percussionist named Ray Barretto, blows your mind. Max Roach, David Ruffin from the Temptations after he just left the Temptations. Sly and the Family Stone, Moms Mabley, Jesse Jackson Speaks, Willie Tyler and Lester, the guy with the mannequin. I know I'm going on and on. I apologize, but it's
no apology. It sounds amazing, but I have so many questions. How was it? I love these sort of modern archaeology stories. How was it that it was sat in a basement? Was the film shot and edited and just, or was
I think it was just reels of film
Right.
And I guess he died maybe in 2017, but before he did, he made people aware of it. When it first came out, he was trying to sell it as the Black Woodstock. Woodstock was this cultural phenomenon we talk about to this day, and no one remembers this thing, and nobody wanted it. Nobody wanted to buy it. So he said, he goes, this will be worth something someday. He sort of thought it's going to be like real estate or something that if you put away, eventually someone will want it. And before he passed away, he made people aware of it. And a bunch of other filmmakers whose names I forget, and they came to Questlove, who brought, his point of view. And Questlove, who is such just a natural historian of Black cultural events and music, is like, I'd never heard of this. And it also has this Mavis Staples and Mahalia Jackson singing together in the most wrenching, and they talk about, there's all these facts too. It's not just a concert film, but they sing the gospel hymn, Precious Lord, Take My Hand, which was the last thing that Martin Luther King asked for moments before seconds before he was shot. He came out of his hotel room and asked a musician who was traveling with him, play the Precious Lord, Take My Hand at the rally tonight. And bam, he was shot. And it's so effective. And they have a woman who's a reporter for the New York Times then. And it was also, just to give a context, was the first time the New York Times decided to use the word Black instead of Negro when referring to Black people. And just all these cultural breakthroughs. It just sets up the time. And the last thing, and I'll shut up and listen, is like, there's so much footage of the audience, and the audience are beautiful, young, fit, diverse Black people. It's like it's a freaky thing, but it's like, it's so rare you see a congregation of Black people represented in the media that isn't like a riot or an uprising or an upset. It is beauty, and it is people getting off on music and the styles. And I also said this, I watched that Apollo 11 movie, that documentary, and part of it I love was just watching the people watching the launch, because kind of nobody was fat back then. You know what I mean? Everybody looked good in clothes. They were expressing themselves. People had natural hair. Anyway, I'll stop talking, but I can't stop thinking.
It sounds amazing. I mean, it's funny when you talk about it, because it almost sounds like there's enough material there for a series, not a single film, right?
Yeah. Part of me, you can't help but think, boy, things have improved since then for Black Americans, but so many of the issues are still right here, Well,
how about just the fact that it sat unnoticed for 50 years and no one wanted it? Because the time you're referring to was also the time of Stonewall, right? I mean, it was around, it was just, so it's just outrageous in a way that it was.
Yeah. And, Barack Obama has said it, and I do parallel it to the gay experience. Like, so much has improved for gay people in this country, and yet there's so much prejudice and so much hate and so much violence still. And Barack Obama has said, you can't deny the progress we have made, but still the race issue and Black rights are still they have such a long way to go. But this will make you think and make you feel, but just if you're like a YouTube junkie and like to see performances you haven't seen before, performances you've never seen before, shot creatively and beautifully. Anyway, thank you for letting me gush.
Oh no, can't wait to see it. So where can we see it?
Summer of Soul. It's playing in select theaters. It's also on Hulu. And
awesome.
Please watch.
Very good. Number 9.
Number 9.
I saw Zola. It starts with this line, want to hear a story about how me and this bitch fell out? And it just ramps up from there. This girl named Taylour Paige plays titular character Zola, and Riley Keough, Elvis's daughter, is
granddaughter.
Lisa Marie's daughter, right?
Yep.
This entire story is the story of, I don't know if you guys remember a few years back, it was 2015, and this woman named Zola released 148 tweets, and it became known as #TheStory on Twitter. It's the story of this girl who goes to Florida from, I believe, Detroit. She meets this girl who is played by Riley at a Hooters that she works at, and they go.
You've sucked me in at Hooters. You got me at Hooters. Keep going.
And they find out that they both dance to make extra money on the weekend. So she talks her into going down to Florida to make a lot of money with her boyfriend, who is a ditz, and this other guy who she didn't know, but found out later that it was Riley's pimp. So it's told through 148 tweets, and the movie used great audio devices. Like when someone likes a tweet, that tweet sound would pop up to differentiate the parts that were like verbatim tweets from the story that made it into the movie. And like when it would tell the time, it would sound like a smartphone going off whenever the time like whisked off of the screen. It was really good.
It sounds like really. Is it a sort of radical film? And who's directing? Do you know who's directing it? Is it like an independent film? Sounds.
It's A24, yeah. And Janiska Bravo is the director, and she, I think, is going to be. This is a lot of Oscar buzz about this. What Blake, the other headline Blake is missing is that T.S. Madison
is in it. It's a Hustlers meets Spring Breakers.
Yes.
And the reason I say it was kind of like Hustlers is because there's this one scene where all the girls are around before they go out on stage in the strip club. And this one girl gives a prayer, oh, Lord, please let someone with a big old dick come in here, and brought the house down. Everyone loved her. She may have stole the whole show, and it was Miss T.S. Madison. Yeah. Give her the awards.
I haven't seen the movie. I've seen the trailer, and T.S. is very highly featured in the trailer.
Oh my God, T.S. is going to be a huge movie star. If you were to compare it with a movie, would it be Spring Breakers? Because that was such a radical movie, I felt. Or would it be like Gummo, or like, is it?
I haven't seen Gummo, but I did think exactly Hustlers and Spring Breakers. And Rolling Stone, which did an article about all the tweets in 2015 before the movie was made, said it sounded like Pulp Fiction meets Spring Breakers as told by Nicki Minaj. So
what's not to love about every one of those references? And again, Janiska Bravo, I don't name drop often. Okay, I do it once in a while. But as soon as we're done, I'm getting on a phone call with her because she might want to do something with the show that I know something about. Isn't that crazy? Small world.
Crazy. Yeah.
Adam AC knows her, and
yeah.
So
we gotta hurry up this show so you can get to that phone call.
I know, and I'm so excited because the Zola thing. I mean, I haven't seen it, but I've seen the trailer. I've heard about it, and independently, Blake watched it and just said, "Oh my God, I'm going to talk about Zola this week." So I know it's real, and there's going to be like it's A24. It's going to be Oscar talk about
it. May be my favorite movie of the past 2 years. I mean, admitting we're just coming back from movies and there hasn't been that much, but I loved it. It's in theaters now, and I don't think you can watch it anywhere else. So.
This might be the movie I go to the theater to see. I still haven't broken my post-pandemic theater cherry, if you will.
I broke mine the other week, Tom. I went to see Black Widow, which I just loved and raved about on a previous episode. So. Yeah, you got to break that cherry. It's good. All right, moving on. So that's Hot Flick Zola. That is in movies now. I want to talk about Britney.
Number 8.
Britney has been in the news a little lately. Free Britney movement has been gaining steam ever since Britney gave a shocking deposition, I guess, or an appearance in court, which was then capped by the judge not dissolving the conservatorship, which was also very surprising. I think pretty much the same day that Bill Cosby got let out of jail. So, the whole thing is crazy. And I personally have been very ambivalent about the Free Britney movement because I feel that the woke mob of Free Britney, I know their intentions are good, but I sort of felt that they've been fact free, and that I felt that Britney does need some kind of protection. And I guess rightly people have said yes, but being protected is different from being in this conservatorship. And then over the weekend, Ronan Farrow wrote an amazing piece in the New Yorker all about it, which kind of gives you the whole story and revealed some new dark twists. And then Larry Rudolph, who'd been managing Britney for basically 25 years, except for a brief period during her blackout breakdown, abruptly resigns and says in his resignation letter that he hasn't spoken to or communicated with her in 2.5 years, which I think would take us back to the time when she was about to announce that new residency in Vegas.
And then canceled.
It was a very bizarre announcement where she appeared, she didn't speak, she came up through the floor, went straight to the limo and left. And everyone was like, well, what happened here? And then the next thing, the whole residency was off. And so it's been quite a tangled web, and I guess the story is still evolving. But a few months ago, I gave an interview to Tess Barker and Babs Gray, whose podcast, Toxic, the Britney Spears story, with preternaturally brilliant timing, dropped today, or like a couple of days ago. And I've only listened to the first episode. I'm like dreading, I don't know about you, but I find listening to myself pretty torturous at the best of times. But I'm terrified of what I've said in this.
So you're just trying to get out ahead of yourself.
I am. Right. I got
damage control here
for
the 4 people that watch the show. They're going to become an army, an Fenton army to protect you.
Right.
I mean, the big headline too this past week has been that she has said that she wants to retire from show business. Period. Britney, and her mother also has gone on record for the first time, who's not in the conservatorship but is an interested party. I don't follow it closely enough. It's such a complicated issue. We've talked about this before. I only want the best for her.
Yes.
It seems that change is going to come one way or the other. And I hope that, it still puts her in the best place. I have trouble believing with mental illness that there's a black and a white. But and again, I haven't read the details, so I'm right. I haven't even read. I will read Ronan's article. I haven't yet, but I
hate to sound selfish, but I hope that she takes some time off and realizes that she wants to release what she wants to release and do what she wants to do and give us like a true good Britney, on her terms.
Maybe it'll be a gospel album. Maybe it'll be a gospel album.
I agree with all that.
I think there's a couple of
things that just can get forgotten in this kind of stampede. And that is that, I think that there's this idea that, why is she in a conservatorship? How come she's not capable of looking after her own affairs if she can provide for a whole variety of people, if she can work? I'm sorry, I just think that is a ridiculous argument. I think that, one of the things when we did our documentary, and she said it straight out, was like, she said, it's like I'm bipolar. It's like I love to perform, and on the stage, I'm this different person, and I love it. And she is confident and free and loves being on the stage. And then off the stage, she's quiet and introverted and shy and retiring. She herself knows she's two different people. And I do believe that working and performing has given her not only joy, but has also given her a structure in her life. But I'm not taking a side in this, but I just think that in everybody's rush to judgment and free Britney, it's like, it's more, as Tom says, it's more complicated than that.
Well,
that's probably very. I'm sorry.
A lot of people, I feel like a lot of the female or probably male performers too say that, like Beyonce is Sasha Fierce. She said when she's on stage, she loves it, and when she's off, she's not. So, I mean, maybe that's just a person,
Yeah, but that's, I'm sure, true what you're saying, Fenton. And there's so much more.
Yeah.
It's about multi-millions of dollars and what that does to people. It's about a family dynamic, which you don't have to have any money, and family dynamics are like, woo, hard to deal with. So God bless Britney. I hope better days are coming for her.
I couldn't agree more. And I definitely think we're probably going to talk about this again. And I definitely think there's more twists and turns along the way. But like you, I hope for a happy ending, because right now it's a profoundly complicated and overall, I think, sad for everybody, actually. I know there's a desire to find villains in this and to blame people, but I actually think this may be a story where there aren't villains. It's just people with good intentions, and it's complicated, All right. Sorry, I've gone on enough about it. Drag Race España, brand new episode is out now on Sunday on Wow Presents Plus, and on the Actress Player Premium in Spain. Yeah. Have you got a question for us, Blake?
I do. It's a birthday question. This woman is a former groupie of Echo and the Bunnymen, the 80s band, British band. She's a mother and a rock star in her own right, who's had to face a lot of hate, but a whole lot of love too. At least for me. Who is she?
And it's her birthday?
Today's her birthday.
Okay.
Well, happy birthday, whoever you are. We'll reveal the answer after the break. You're listening to Wow Report on Radio Andy.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
And welcome back to the Wow Report. I'm Fenton here with Tom and Blake, and James St. James has a well-deserved, hard-earned week off. So, Blake, what was the question?
It's a birthday question. This lady was a former groupie of the new age 80s Brit pop band Echo and the Bunnymen. She's a mother and she's a rock star in her own right who's had to face a lot of hate, but she's also gotten a whole lot of love too, at least from me. Who is she?
I don't know.
Courtney Love?
It's Courtney Love. Happy birthday, Courtney Love.
Courtney Love was in Echo and the Bunnymen?
No, she was a fan.
She was a groupie. She was a groupie. She used to follow around the lead singer like before she met Kurt.
Well, how about that? Happy birthday, Courtney Love. Love her. Number 7, Tom.
Number 7.
Headline this week, the passing of the great director Richard Donner, who is known for many, many movies. Maybe the most profound is he did the original Superman in the 70s with Christopher Reeve.
He directed.
He directed it.
Mm-hmm.
He also directed the first R-rated movie, maybe the second R-rated movie I ever saw as a teenager. Went with my brother and his girlfriend Jody, and he directed The Omen. It was Gregory Peck and Lee Remick, and it's about Satan, and he has 666 on his head. And he's like the little Damon, he's just taking over and you don't want to believe it. There's a shot in that just blew my mind as a kid, where Lee Remick, who was beautiful 70s and like cream colored cowl necks, cashmere sweater, those 70s pants that were polyester that had a pleat that would go all the way to with the bell bottom at the floor. Beautiful honey blonde hair, and she's in this beautiful house they live in. She's like watering a potted plant on a stool next to the railing of their sumptuous entranceway, and little Damien is just riding his bike and riding his trike, and you just see him crash into her, and then it's just an aerial shot of the floor of the entranceway from this, from above the second floor. And first you see the water jug she was carrying go slow motion down, breaks, and then followed by Lee Remick in beautiful, crumpled and killed by little Damien. Anyway, and those movies meant so much for me. Superman the movie with Can You Read My Mind and Margot Kidder, and how beautiful Christopher Reeve was. And someone said it was the movie that believed it was advertised, you'll believe a man can fly. And I was just so corny about it, but I can remember the air conditioning in the theater and the popcorn and how lush, and it was a John Williams score, and just how amazing it was. It was part of that whole blockbuster beginning of
You're so right. It was seen as the state of the art. That was the tagline, that it was like,
you believe a man can fly.
Incredibly, the visual effects were so special, right?
Yes.
I remember seeing it too, yeah.
And Christopher Reeve, of course, has a special place in my heart. He also directed Goonies, which I've never seen.
Oh,
sorry.
That's a classic of my generation.
I remember it was Goonies.
Okay. But other people love it.
Yeah.
So.
And then he went on to direct Lethal Weapon, which, forgetting what you think about who, Lethal Weapon was a sexy ass 80s comedy adventure. It kind of helped define the genre. There's been 3 of them. He directed them all. And then as a producer, excuse me.
Quick question. Is that when they pull a house off the side of the hill?
Yes.
That's so great, right? They get the mid-century modern house.
It's when you would show up for stunts, like, this is the best movie I've ever seen. And there is this, it's off of Mulholland. It's like a round house, and it's still there, but they filmed in that house, and then they, did a dummy and had it pull off. And And then there was as producers, he and his wife produced the X-Men series, which have grossed like $2.5 billion.
Yeah.
But then and researching, there's two TV credits, because he started off as a journeyman director, working on all the 60, like Gilligan's Island and Wild Wild West and all that kind of stuff. But he also directed the famous William Shatner episode of The Twilight Zone, which was Nightmare at 20,000 Feet, where William Shatner thinks there's a man on the wing of the plane. Have you ever seen this?
I've heard of it.
Oh, it's horrifying. It's like William Shatner just freaking out. It's like, there's a man on the wing of the plane. It's like, no, there isn't. And last but not least, what's that?
Is there a man on the wing of the plane?
Well, you have to watch. I think the plane crashes, but they remade it for the movie. But the last thing is, and I worked indirectly with Richard Donner when I was at HBO. He also was one of the A-list directors that founded Tales from the Crypt, which was one of the first hit series on HBO that I worked on a long time ago. And that was also incredibly successful and off of the comic books. And I don't know, I didn't think that Richard Donner would mean a lot to me, but when I started reading about Superman and The Omen and Lethal Weapon, and those were when the movies really mattered, I tell you, so they really was something. When they don't make them like that anymore. So Richard Donner rests in perfection.
Well, they don't make them like that because it's all green screen, because you'll believe a man can fly, but there's no bar anymore to being able to do. You can see and do anything and everything in the movies, which sounds like an old fart complaining, but it's not. It's just a different thing.
It's just different. It's different.
Exactly. Number 6. I want to self-promote. I want to talk about Catching. Actually, I'm not really self-promoting, but it's a series Randy and I directed. It's called Catch and Kill, the podcast tapes, and it's on HBO Max, and it starts on Monday the 12th of July. It's a 6-part series, half-hour episodes, and basically it tells the story of how Ronan Farrow reported, investigated, and managed to publish the story about Harvey Weinstein. And of course, the Harvey Weinstein story is so important because in a way it triggered the Me Too movement. And what's really sort of interesting, I think, about this is that, he wrote this amazing book. Well, first of all, he wrote this amazing feature in the New Yorker that first, accused Harvey Weinstein of raping people. It had previously been reported in the New York Times, but that was just harassment. It wasn't rape. That was the big difference. And then, having broken this story in the New Yorker, he then wrote a best-selling book called Catch and Kill, and then he did a podcast. And so HBO came to us at the start of the pandemic and said, we taped these interviews. We filmed the interviews Ronan did for his podcast. Do you think you can do anything with them? And we said, well, let's take a look. So they sent us these interviews, and oh my God, I think it's one thing to read something or even hear something, but then to see someone describing being raped or assaulted, and to see them, it's upsetting. I mean, it's enormously impactful, but to see it, when Rose McGowan pauses in the podcast, it's sort of just dead air. But when you're sitting there and you're seeing her, and the trauma is literally playing like a movie in her head, it's profoundly shocking. And so we were like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. And it really does. The series begins with this woman, Amber Gutierrez. And very long story short, the New York police, after Harvey assaulted her in his office, she went to the police, and the police said, will you wear a wire for us? And she said, sure, I'll do that. So she met with Harvey Weinstein. She was wearing a wire, and she got it. She got him on tape. And you would think that would be the end of the story, right? They would arrest him, they'd put him on trial, he'd go to jail, end of story. Oh, no, that is not. This is the beginning of the story, because first nothing happened. Once Harvey Weinstein knew that he'd been caught on tape, suddenly all this stuff started appearing in the press about Amber's past and how she was an escort, which, by the way, she was not. But this sort of smear campaign Ultimately, the DA's office didn't press the charges, didn't bring any charges. Harvey Weinstein believed the tape had been destroyed. And it is only because Amber herself used her iPhone. In addition to wearing a wire, she gave the wire to the police, but she also had the presence of mind to set her iPhone to record. She had her own copy of the wire. And it was only because of that the story ever came out. And so that's how it all begins, and it goes from there. And I have to say, Ronan did an amazing job, and it was this is a story that people had been trying to break for decades, because, yeah, it was everyone knew Harvey Weinstein was a bully, but less known was the fact that he was a rapist. And it took years for Ronan to get this story out, and NBC was going to lead with it, and then they dropped it again because of Harvey Weinstein's influence and power, and eventually it came out in The New Yorker. And so that's a 6-part series. It's on HBO Max. And
you may see someone's arm in one of the reenactments.
Yes, you may, Blake.
Do you know, are they dropping all 6 at once, or are we?
No, they're doing 2 at a time. So, which is actually, I think, 2.5 hours is the new
Yes.
thing, right?
6 is too many. 1's not enough. 2
right.
is perfect.
It's like a little binge. Yeah, Yep. So that's coming up. So number 5.
Number 5.
Well, shitty outcome for a big show over at NBC. I don't know if you guys have heard the news. Their show Ultimate Slip and Slide has been canceled. They only had 5 days left of shooting due to ... explosive diarrhea.
Yeah.
Giardia, in fact.
It's a slip and slide show, so there's a lot, like a big set with the pictures that go along with this make it look like it's the Hershey Highway Fudge Factory machine, which I don't think it is, but
it's a reality competition take on Whammo's iconic 60s outdoor game in which contestants compete in a series of challenges on the gigantic slippery slide, including human pong, body bowling, cornhole, Baki fall, and more. So, and then the winner, does the
slip and slide,
yeah.
Right? Which is like a muddy slide, and you slide down it.
No, well, the original slip and slide was
muddy.
It's a piece of plastic with holes, sort of like almost like an air mattress that doesn't have any air in it, but one side has holes in it, and then you hook up your hose, so it's kind of just has water on the top of this thing. You'd put it on your ground, on your lawn, with rocks and things underneath. And then as a child, as an unsuspecting child, you would throw your frail body onto the ground, basically, and slide across this thing. It was fun, but I remember being like 5 and flexible, thinking, this isn't good for my knees.
Well, by the time it came to my generation, we had a little bump with a pull at the end that you fell into.
Oh,
and
classy.
if you put baby oil all over it, you went way faster.
Where does the diarrhea come into this equation?
Well, they don't know, but up to 40 crew members fell violently ill. A source with knowledge said that it was an awful explosive diarrhea. It led to people collapsing on set and being forced to run into porta potties.
It's just the association of slip and slide and diarrhea. It's so bizarre.
Yeah.
And apparently it was a very expensive set, like some $10 million set or something.
When you're slipping and sliding and you know.
But 40 people at once, there weren't 40 porta potties.
No.
So some people made it to the porta potties. Some people did not.
And it's not only that they've had to close production, they've had to abandon the entire set. I mean, it's like, because I think the bacteria is in the mud around the slip and slide. I mean, the whole thing is so positively disgusting. You know, there's a water park in Palm Springs with a very steep slide, and they tell you when you go down it to cross your legs. And I was like, well, why would you cross your legs? Well, I can tell you why, because if you don't cross your legs, water goes right up your butt at an extraordinary velocity. So I just think this slip and slide is basically, it's a shit show in the most literal sense of the word. That slip and slide must have been coated with diarrhea and poo.
They were betting a lot of money on this. It was supposed to premiere right after the closing ceremony of the Olympics.
It was supposed to be an Olympic show.
Yeah.
Now the Olympics are a shit show, and so is the after show. Thank you very much.
Oh my God. Well, let's take a break. A bathroom break. Blake, have you got a question for us?
I do. This one's a little more summer trivia. I asked you a couple of questions last week. What summertime smell is said to elicit happy memories in humans? Summertime smell.
The smell of that slip and slide is we'll have the answer right after the break. You're listening to the Wow Report on Radio Andy.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
And welcome back to the Wow Report. I'm Fenton here with Tom and Blake. James is off this week. What was the question, mate?
I asked, which summertime smell is said to elicit happy memories in humans? Now, I don't know where this came from, but I found it on the internet, so it must be true.
I'm just going to speak for myself. I don't think this is the right answer, but copper tone suntan lotion.
That's a good one.
I'm going to say freshly cut grass. I mean, it doesn't make me happy, but I just assume that's
I mean, somebody's cut the grass and you didn't.
Right.
Well, Fenton, you're our big winner because that is exactly right.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I used to, Gap used to have these 4 scents when I was in like middle school. And I loved which smelled like fallish, and I loved grass, and it smelled just like fresh cut grass. And I used to douse myself in it.
Gorgeous. Just getting summery thinking about it. Number 4.
I came here to talk about Miley Cyrus's Pride special, airing currently on Peacock. Unfortunately, I never got to watch it.
Shouldn't stop you from talking about it.
No, and I didn't like it, and I'll tell you why. No. She actually called us and said, would we help her with it, John Pauly and I, but we were busy doing another show. But I didn't get to see it. I've seen clips of it. You know, it's sort of like a Drag Race episode because I think every number she's wearing something new, and she wears like a Cher outfit and she sings Believe, and I have seen the cut with her, and it's Sonique, and I think Jaden Dior Fierce and a bunch of other drag queens. I mean, Miley is this incredible. She is a drag queen. She's not a drag queen. She's so much more, but she's so comfortable and so in love with drag, and she supports Drag Race. But I think it informs her life. Like, I think she literally takes the freedom of self-expression from drag and just brings it into her life. What I have seen from beginning to end, which is sort of tiding me over until I see the special, is she has a residency or something in Vegas, and she, along with Kylie Sonique Love, who was from season 2 of Drag Race and is currently on All Star 6 on Paramount Plus. Miley performs American Woman. You know the song American Woman, Stay Away From Me, with okay, to fix this with Kylie Sonique Love. Who knew it would be so hard? Kylie. Doing like this intense, she has this like man suit on and hat, and she whips off the jacket, and she just has suspenders over her nipples. And Sonique, if you haven't seen, has this incredible body. She's a trans woman as well as a drag queen, and she is dancing and doing splits, and Miley is on her and dancing and in between her legs, and they're singing a song, American Woman, and she goes, "This is the American Woman," and it is the most exotic, erotic, a female empowering, trans empowering, like 3 minutes you'll ever see. It's just, I've watched it like 5 times, and I will watch it 20 times more. Have you seen it?
I haven't seen it, but I really want to. I remember we were going to watch it, but I'd had a few too many drinks, and I wanted to be clear-minded.
Well, that's Miley Cyrus Presents Stand By You on Peacock.
That's Peacock, but this is a YouTube clip that's just from her Vegas show this past weekend. So Miley's everywhere. Kylie Sonique Love is with her everywhere. I think she's calling Kylie Sonique Love her drag mother.
And where is the Vegas residency at?
I don't know.
I'm seeing her at Austin City Limits in October. Miley. Maybe Kylie will be there too. Well, I'm seeing Trixie Mattel at the same festival. She's at Austin City Limits.
Marvelous. When is that?
October 8th, I believe.
All right. Number 3, old news.
Number 3.
The Bikini turns 75. Yeah, the Bikini actually has a birthday, and it was 5th of July, 1946. A lot of things happened in 1946. Robert Mapplethorpe was born, McDonald's launched, George W. Bush was born. I mean, it's like sort of a weird, I don't know what happened in 1946, but it was a year.
Post-war.
And the Bikini. And the weird thing about the Bikini is, the ancient Romans, they had the ladies, when they were exercising, wore little tiny fabric strips up here across their titties and across their groin area. But of course, with the Victorians, everything got covered up and women were carted into the water in bathing machines, like microwave machines. And apparently in World War II, rationing started to sort of reverse the excessive amount of fabric used in bathing wear. And there were two pieces. You were allowed to wear a two-piece, but the Hays Code in movies forbade the exposure of the navel. So, right? But this, I never knew about the Bikini. This is, to me, jaw-dropping. So in this post-war period, you got the atom bomb, right? And hot women were called bombshells. And you would say, oh, no, she's atomic, right? And of course, the US was testing atomic weapons. And you might have heard of Bikini Atoll, which was this island where they did a lot of nuclear tests.
Yeah.
That's where the name Bikini comes from Bikini Atoll, from the nuclear tests. Because it was like literally 4 days after that test that this French designer, Louis Réard, launched the Bikini. A scandal. And I love the fact it was called after Bikini Atoll, because the way women were described as hot was as bombshells or nuclear or atomic. Who knew? I am just so excited about this discovery.
Well, and it sounds like teeny weeny, and it goes with bikini. So
teeny weeny yellow dot polka dot bikini. That was a #1 hit in 1960.
Yeah.
All this information I owe to the amazing Stephen Rutledge, who writes for the Wow Report. And you can read a much more articulate and fuller description, history of the Bikini.
Related to that a little bit, because in World War II, mostly men soldiers, there were women too, but the bombers were men, and they would often name their, and paint like movie stars. And I think Rita Hayworth, the bombshell, Rita Hayworth was painted on, and maybe on one of the nuclear bombs that was dropped, and she was horrified to find out, later in life. Obviously she was a great pinup girl for the troops, and it was out of respect and love and whatever. But she was just horrified that she was, associated forever with the atomic.
Yeah, terrible. So that's a short history of the Bikini. By the way, and let's not forget Raquel Welch's fur bikini in 1 million years BC, which is the fur bikini. That's the only thing anyone ever remembers about the film. So there you go. All right, Blake, what have you got for us at number two? Number two.
If you're watching this on YouTube, pause this right now and look up the official trailer to the movie Pig. You can find it on the Wow Report. Just type in worldofwonder.net/Radio Andy. Click the top post that corresponds with today's show. And
will you say the name of the movie again, Blake? Because I love your accent.
Pig. Yes,
Pig.
watch the movie Pig. Watch the trailer Pig. Okay. For our listeners on Radio Andy, I'll set the scene. It starts with classical music, and a scruffy elder man whistles to his pig in his rundown cabin out in the woods.
Pig goes.
Yeah. The pig comes running. They wander through the woods looking for truffles, we find out. We see
As one does.
Yeah. Then one night, they're all nestled into their cabin, and there's a burst at the door. The camera cuts to a man beaten up on the floor, and he's going, trying to whistle to his pig. Then cut to a black card with Academy Award winner Nicolas Cage. Then the next shot looks as if a man is looking out of a cave or a car or something, and he just says, I'm looking for a truffle pig. This came on when I was seeing Zola last night, and the entire movie theater burst into laughter whenever he said that. And this isn't supposed to be a comedy.
It's not a comedy, but it was funny, but it was also disturbing because in those few seconds, I formed a real bond. I loved that pig. I fell in love with the pig, and I'm in deep anxiety about the fate of the pig, and something horrible has happened.
Yeah,
and you know that the pig owner is not going to put up with it. This is a dark movie about a truffle pig.
Well, there were 2 times that the movie erupted, the theater erupted into laughter, and at the very end, he says, "Who has my pig?" So
yeah,
this is
a great moment where the restaurant guy says, "You need to get another pig."
Yeah.
But I bet you, Blake, it's going to be a big hit, and I bet you I get it. I think it's really scary. And
you think? I think it may be a big hit, but only like how people went to see Snakes on a Plane, and it kind of like became a big hit.
Or Cats. You think the truffle pig is the new Cats?
I don't know. Forbid. I mean, it's hilarious because in the thing, you're led to believe that he was once a famous chef who was so broken down by the industry that he just lives alone with his truffle pig, and then someone steals it. I didn't know this, but my bestie Steven said that it was basically John Wick, but with a pig. Have y'all seen John Wick?
Of course, yes.
Yeah. So
I have 2 observations. One is you reminded me how much I miss people laughing at the trailers at the movie.
Yeah.
There's nothing more fun than when people just rip apart a trailer to make fun of it. But I watched it online because you sent it to me, the link. And I think I'm with Fenton that I think they chose to market it like the pig movie, but it looks like it might actually be an interesting story, but you're lured to it through because how do you make a dent these days? You have to make something seem kind of really camp.
Well, I just love that Nicolas Cage is like at that point of his career where he's just like, fuck it, I'm making whatever movie I want to make now, and I'm making Pig. And you can find out if you really like it this weekend because it drops next weekend, July 16th.
We were just singing the praises about A24 and how they make only cool movies. So, it's bound to be super cool. Right?
It can be, but everyone misses every once in a while. Nobody's perfect, as Hannah Montana says.
There was a documentary that came out last year, I think, for Oscar consideration called The Truffle Hunters. And it was about truffle hunters and their truffle pigs, and it was very moving.
I think maybe it's just that Nicolas Cage is in it, and I just kind of think he's a joke now.
No.
Not after they see his work in Pig.
Right. And the Oscar goes to Pig.
Truffle farmer. Pig.
All right. Is there a connection between Slip and Slide and explosive diarrhea and the truffle pig? Does it all
It was filmed on an old pig farm.
All right. We're going to take one more break, and then when we come back, we'll reveal the number one thing this week that made us go, wow.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Welcome back to the Wow Report. I'm Fenton here with Tom and Blake, and James's spirit is hovering above us, I feel. So, okay. What is number one this week?
Number one.
Especially during the Trump years, forgive me for saying his name out loud, we would complain a lot, number one, about how, we're falling back and America's not as great as it used to be. Well, finally, we have a story about progress, about gay rights moving forward, and Blake has the details for us. Blake.
Well, I'm just I was reading on TMZ the other day, and I saw.
Yeah, I was trying to make it so classy. Now you're referencing TMZ. Keep going.
Hey, TMZ is a reputable news source.
Okay.
They are saying that NBC has finally gotten all the complaints from. Well, when Lil Nas X performed on the BET, he kissed a man, and there was an uproar all over the internet. Yes. Even probably, I'm sure they talked about it on The View and The Talk and the whatever. Yeah. Well, you know how many FCC complaints they actually received? 3. 1, 2, 3. That's it. I think that's amazing.
And one
Or
of them was
maybe
probably,
they're just lazier now. I don't know.
yeah. Where are those Christians? Those crazy Christians when you need them? And I heard that 2 of the 3 calls were from Lil Nas X's exes.
That's funny. I have been living for Lil Nas X's tweets, and his clapbacks. Some guy said, "You doing too much, dog. Be gay. Nobody folding you for it. It's the demonic shit you got going." And Lil Nas X replied, "I've already moved on past my satanic era. I'm in my King Tut era now. You'll need to leave the past in the past." Some other guy said, "Oh, you guys watching that shit, bro. It wasn't cool. We all know you gay, but damn, chill that gay shit out." And he says, "That's not my problem. Stop letting your kids watch the BET Awards. Put on some Coco Melon."
Yeah.
So good. I mean, he's just so fat. He just takes them all on and just like, yeah. Amazing. Funny enough, interesting little fact, managed by Adam Lieber is the manager, same manager as Miley.
Yes.
So, and I feel Miley and Lil Nas X are sort of 2 peas in a disruptive pod.
Well, Miley's dad was on his monster hit,
Old Town Road.
Old Town Road. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and just for comparison, Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion's Grammy performance of WAP and J-Lo and Shakira's Super Bowl halftime, remember that? They each received more than 1,000 FCC complaints.
Well, that doesn't speak well for women, poor women out there having to meet different standards.
Yeah.
Maybe people just recognize the FCC doesn't do anything anyway, right?
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's all we got time for. But it's been so much fun. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Blake. Lovely to see you both. Same time, same place next week.
I'll be here.
Until then, go out and do something that makes the world go
wow.